Bring back the 70s. Okay, this song this song was just a little bit of fun that I wanted to have. I actually love music of all different kinds of eras and all different kinds of genres. Every genre's got some crap, and every genre has some wonderful stuff. But I found growing up, I grew up in the 80s, and there was a station called KOGA where I lived in Ogallala, Nebraska. And they played a lot of soft rock and sort of adult contemporary stuff. And being in the 80s, the 70s weren't that far away. So a lot of music from the 70s were making their way into the playlists of what was happening on KOGA, as well as the early 80s. And so I heard a lot of different music from the 70s growing up, and I loved it. And as I got older, a lot of my favorite artists ended up being people who really cut their teeth in the 70s. Billy Joel, Elton John, John Denver, Neil Diamond, these great singer-songwriters. But I learned as I started sifting through all the different kinds of music out there that the 70s was a breeding ground for great music in every genre. Had great country music with the outlaws like Waylon and Willie Nelson and Johnny Cash and Chris Christopherson and Merle Haggard, and those guys were really on top of their game in the 70s. Hank Jr. came around at that time. They had great dance music, the disco music, groups like ABBA, the Bee Gees, Casey and the Sunshine Band. I mean, just fabulous, like top shelf stuff in every genre, it seemed like. Whether it was, and then you had these groups where everything was melding together and you didn't know what in the hell they were, like the Eagles. Are they country? Are they rock? They're both. And if you ask someone in those days, what kind of music do you play? It was before radio stations were really, really over formatted the way they are now. And they'd say, well, I don't know, what play music. So, Fleetwood Mac, and I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. I just love that decade. So it's my favorite era of music. That doesn't mean it's the only era that I like. But what I really liked about it was that it was before you had to classify yourself. Like right now, you're a country artist. You're a pop artist. You're a hard rock artist. You're a mainstream rock artist. You're an alternative rock artist. You're a new age artist. I mean, you name it, there's some kind of classification that you have to fall under. And I don't like that so much. It's kind of gotten music away from the experimental nature that was inspired by the Beatles in the first place, but that's okay. That doesn't mean there's not a lot of great music out there. There is. So what I wanted to do with this song was pay homage to the 70s, and I started with the last album the Beatles released was Let It Be. It came out in 1970, and basically the Beatles inspired so many different kinds of artists that the entirety of the 70s was this explosion of different kinds of creativity, largely by people who'd been influenced by the Fab Four. So I kind of paid homage to that. And the way that we made the record was really fun. I did not know what I was doing when it came to recording, so I sent a very, very muddy, difficult to hear file to Chris Pinnock to do the guitar work against, and what I had sent him was this thing that was like this on the piano. Which is really hard to hear and to discern. It's kind of a muddy part to begin with, and then if you don't know how to engineer the frequencies, it's really a bunch of mud. So he didn't really know what I was playing, and he just kind of had to guess on something. Well, he sent me this thing back, and I'm going to play it very badly, but it was something like... Need to tune my guitar, but I'm not going to worry about that now. And as I was listening to it when he sent it back to me, he sent me an email, and he said, if you need me to do something different, just let me know. I just couldn't really hear what you were doing that well, so I was just guessing. And I loved what he sent me, Because as it turns out, if you took that riff and did one extra thing to it, it ends up being the primary riff to one of the most popular 70s songs ever, which is Listen to the Music by the Doobie Brothers, who I pay homage to in this song, because all you have to do is you go... So, and again, like I say, I don't play this instrument very well at all, so that's not real clean, but I loved that we had a little bit of that Doobie Brothers riff happening in there. And then he put some really cool guitar fills in at different places that they weren't at all like rip-offs of riffs that somebody else had done, but they were reminiscent of something that some, like there's a place where I say something about Eric Clapton and he goes which is clearly a reference to by Layla, or, you know, the song Layla, which I loved. And then I tried to do little things like that too. I said something about Billy and Elton taught me how to play the ivories, and I went under there, which is a little nod to the Root Beer Rag by Billy Joel. You know. And what else did we do that was fun? I think I mentioned I went into 3-part harmony on purpose at 2 different spots in the song. It was the same spot in 2 different verses because I referenced Crosby, Stills, and Nash, and I went into 3-part harmony for them. And then I referenced the Eagles, and I went into the 3-part harmony for them as well. And then just a little other, buffoonery that we did was when we were about to make the key change in the song. We had just been talking about kind of disco, soul, funk, kind of dance music from that era, and I said something about George Clinton, and anytime I hear George Clinton, I feel like, it's a George Clinton song isn't complete without hearing something like, and hot, woo, just a lot of that kind of stuff going on. So I threw some of that in the background as I'm singing like, George Clinton taught us how to bring the funk, and I think I on another track went, and hot, so it was very, very dorky, but I think it was all done in great fun and paying homage to these guys. So it's a really fun track to me. I enjoyed putting it together, and I'm really glad that Chris couldn't hear what I was doing, so that he ended up putting that part in, because when he sent it back to me, I changed the piano part to... which slid right into the mix and fit nicely with what he was doing, and it's a much clearer, much prettier part anyway, so happy accident. So anyway, bring back the 70s, opening track to the Beat Up Old Piano album, and something I really enjoyed making. It was just a lot of fun to write it and to play it.
I've been a music fan as long as I remember. I love songs of every shape and size. For me, there is an era that just stands above the others. Come with me and let's go back in time, yeah. In 1970, the Beatles gave us Let It Be. Close the book on something we all loved. They opened up the floodgates of a whole new generation. Man, I'd say that we're the lucky ones. 'Cause John Denver had us high on a mountain. Clapton taught us how to play guitar. Crosby, Stills, and Nash showed us to teach our children well. And Elvis proved that he was still a star. Well, could somebody please bring back the 70s? Country, rock, and disco were my friends. Well, could somebody please bring back the 70s? state of meditation, and Alice Cooper always kicks some ass. Pink Floyd and Genesis were always avant-garde. The Doobie Brothers kept it all mainstream. Skinner and the Eagles put some country in their rock, and Waylon put some rock in his country. Well, could somebody please bring back the 70's? Country, rock, and disco are my friends. Well, could somebody please bring back the 70's? I wanna love my radio again. The Bee Gees had us talking, jive, and dancing every night. George Clinton taught us how to bring the funk. When the rock and roll all got too serious and soft, Iggy Pop came by and gave us punk. Yeah! Could somebody please bring back the 70's? Well, country, rock, and disco are my friends. Well, could somebody please bring back the 70's? Wanna love my radio again. Oh, could somebody please bring back the 70's? I wanna love my radio